Chosen one, pause right here and breathe, because heaven has waited for this moment. You didn't stumble into this message in the middle of your day or by casual scrolling. You were guided strategically, intentionally by the Spirit of God into a sacred appointment that was written over your life long before the pressures you've been carrying ever touched your shoulders. Something holy is unfolding around you, and even now, your spirit can feel that gentle pull from the unseen. That quiet tug is not fatigue. It's not confusion. And it's not the noise of worry. It is the Father whispering, "Rest now. You've done enough. I'm taking it from here." Beloved soul, this is the moment where heaven pauses to address the weight you've been holding. You fought battles in silence. You've carried responsibilities that stretched your emotional bandwidth. You pushed through financial strain, relational tension, and spiritual exhaustion while still trying to stay faithful, productive, and disciplined. You've tried to balance purpose with pain, expectations with endurance, and vision with the reality that life has felt heavier than your strength could sustain. And yet, even in all of that, you kept going. You kept sowing seeds of prayer, seeds of effort, seeds of resilience. Heaven has counted every one of them. God saw your commitment when nobody else did, and he's saying, "Rest. I'm stepping into what your strength could no longer carry." Hear this clearly, chosen one. You are not weak for being tired. You are not faithless for feeling stretched thin. You are not behind, out of alignment, or failing your assignment. You are human yet divinely chosen, and your Father knows exactly when to step in and take the weight off your shoulders. Psalm 23 verse 3 declares, "He restores my soul." That is not poetry. That is a promise. And right now, restoration is beginning to move toward you like a river breaking through dry ground. This word isn't here to pressure you. It's here to release you. You've been operating at high levels emotionally, spiritually, mentally, just like people who run high-performance businesses or manage high-value investments. You've been pouring out energy like capital, believing that grinding harder would bring the breakthrough faster. But heaven is saying this next chapter won't be unlocked by hustle. It will be unlocked by surrender. Your peace is about to produce more than your pressure ever did. Your rest is about to generate more divine return than your relentless effort. God is shifting you from striving into supernatural strategy, from exhaustion into overflow, from survival mode into spirit-led abundance. And beloved, as you lean into this word, allow your heart to unclench. Let the financial anxiety loosen its grip. Let the pressure to prove yourself dissolve. Let the internal deadlines, the emotional strain, the weight of expectations, all of it fall off your shoulders like chains snapping in the presence of God. For he is saying, "I've seen your labor. I've watched you endure. And now let me handle the rest." Isaiah 43 verse 19 reminds you, "Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth." Not by force, not by burnout, by his hand alone. Stay with me until the end of this message, because what God is about to reveal will shift how you move, how you breathe, and how you trust from this moment forward. And beloved, at the right moment in this journey, I'll invite you only if your spirit feels led to sow into your own restoration through a simple super thanks, not as a gift to me, but as a prophetic act of saying, "Lord, I receive the rest you're releasing." Chosen one, listen closely, because this is where heaven begins to unravel the truth you've been wrestling with in the quiet corners of your mind. You've carried so much responsibility, expectation, emotional weight, and you've mistaken that load for a requirement. You believed that if you didn't hold everything together, everything would fall apart. You've been operating like the backbone of a family, the engine of a dream, the strategist behind every breakthrough, pushing forward like a disciplined entrepreneur managing high-value assets of the soul. But God says you were never meant to sustain what only my hands can uphold. The pressure you felt lately, the financial tension, the spiritual warfare, the emotional fatigue is not a sign that you're failing. It's heaven signaling transition. You've been in a long stretch of spiritual output pouring from your reserves, like someone funding a major investment without receiving deposits in return. You kept giving energy, attention, prayer, compassion, creativity, discernment, while your soul was quietly slipping into overdraft. And God in his love is stepping in now to interrupt the cycle and restore your balance. Beloved, the Holy Spirit needs you to grasp this. You don't have to keep proving your worth. You don't have to outperform your past. You don't have to hustle your way into rest. You don't have to show God how strong you are. Your Father already knows your strength. What He wants now is your surrender. You've come to the end of what human resilience can accomplish. And that is not defeat. It is divine positioning. Paul said, "My strength is made perfect in weakness." You've reached the threshold where God's intervention becomes your new strategy, your new wealth, your new spiritual currency. Chosen one. You've endured seasons where people misunderstood your silence, misread your intentions, or took your generosity for granted. You've carried battles that others will never know about. You've worried about deadlines, finances, family stability, and unanswered prayers with the quiet intensity of a leader managing risk while still trying to hold on to faith. But the Father is declaring enough. Rest now. I'm stepping into the places where you cannot continue. And hear this prophetic truth. Some of the delays you've battled were never the enemy. They were God slowing you down before your exhaustion became collapse. You prayed for breakthrough. Heaven responded with boundaries. You prayed for clarity. God responded with stillness. You prayed for provision. He responded by stopping you before your decisions drained you further. Every pause has been protection. Every closed door has been intervention. Every moment of slowed momentum has been God whispering, "You've done enough. Let me take it from here." Beloved soul, even your spirit knows this is true. That's why you've been feeling that strange mix of fatigue and peace. Your soul is tired, but your spirit is hopeful. Your mind feels heavy, but your heart keeps hearing that quiet reassurance, saying, "God's got it." That contrast isn't confusion. It's confirmation. Heaven is transitioning you from self-driven effort into spirit-led abundance. You're stepping from burnout into blessing, from pressure into peace, from striving into supernatural flow. And as God takes over, expect things to align with the smoothness of divine timing, financial provision, relationship clarity, business opportunities, mental renewal, emotional healing. Each unfolded without the strain you once believed was necessary. Chosen one, stay with me because later in this journey, I will lead you into a prayer that will seal this shift in your spirit. And right here as we transition into a deeper layer of this revelation, if your heart feels aligned, if something in your spirit is rising with faith, you are welcome to release a simple super thanks. Not out of pressure, not as a transaction, but as a soft whisper to heaven, saying, "Father, I'm ready to rest in you. I'm ready to let you carry what I no longer can." Not giving away, but planting into your own restoration, your own clarity, your own peace. Now breathe, because the next part of this message will reveal why God is pulling you into rest before He releases the blessing He's been preparing behind the scenes. You are closer than you think, closer than you've ever been, and heaven is making sure you don't walk into the next season weary and wounded. Chosen one, lean in, because heaven is unraveling something deeper, something that reaches into the very architecture of your calling. You've been conditioned to believe that momentum equals progress, that constant motion equals productivity, that building a future requires nonstop effort, the way high-demand leaders grind through markets, deadlines, and high-stakes decisions. But the Spirit of God is revealing a truth that contradicts the culture of pressure. Sometimes the highest form of spiritual intelligence is resting at the very moment your flesh wants to push harder. Rest is not withdrawal. Rest is warfare. Rest is the strategy of someone who finally understands that their destiny isn't built like a business plan. It's orchestrated like a divine blueprint. And beloved, God is saying something profound to you in this moment. You have carried what was never meant to be carried alone. You took on responsibilities that were only meant to be shared with heaven. You internalized burdens that were supposed to be laid at the altar. You tried to solve problems that were designed to reveal God's sovereignty, not your stamina. You pushed through seasons that required stillness, trying to create outcomes when heaven was asking you to wait for revelation. You've invested emotional capital into situations that never gave back. You poured spiritual equity into relationships that didn't understand the value of your presence. And through it all, the Father watched over you, not with disappointment, but with tenderness, knowing there would come a day like this when He would tell you, "Enough. Step back. Let me take over." Beloved soul, you've been living in a constant state of alertness, reacting to life like someone trying to manage multiple streams of responsibility, financial stability, emotional resilience, spiritual warfare, career goals, family expectations. You've been multitasking your survival, juggling obligations while still trying to maintain faith. Try and keep hope alive even when your energy dropped to a whisper. You've been negotiating your peace like someone trying to maintain liquidity in a pressured market, stretching yourself thin just to keep things from collapsing. But heaven is lifting that weight now, because you were never designed to function like a machine. You're God's creation, God's vessel, God's chosen one. And every vessel that carries divine purpose must also honor divine rest. And hear this with your whole spirit. The exhaustion you've been feeling isn't because you're weak. It's because you're shifting dimensions. When God transitions you from one phase of purpose to another, your spirit senses a change long before your mind understands it. You've been feeling spiritually off, almost like your old rhythms aren't working. Your old strategies don't feel aligned. Your old drive doesn't activate the way it used to. That's not burnout. It's transformation. You're shedding a season. You're outgrowing an identity. You're stepping out of survival mode and into spirit-led direction. What once felt necessary now feels heavy. What once inspired you now drains you. What once aligned with your dreams now clashes with your peace. This is a divine signal that the Holy Spirit is shifting the operating system of your life. Chosen one, let this sink deeply. God is not asking you to try harder. He's asking you to trust deeper. The next breakthrough is not coming from increased effort. It's coming from increased surrender. Your Father is positioning you for a season where blessings flow, not because you chase them, but because you rested in Him. He's preparing a chapter where financial provision meets you instead of you stretching to find it, where opportunities locate you instead of you losing sleep, try create them, where divine favor opens doors without you exhausting your strength knocking. This is spiritual wealth. This is heavenly return on investment. This is God showing you that the blessing arrives by grace, not grind. And chosen one, the attacks you faced lately, the sudden heaviness, the random discouragement, the unexpected obstacles, these weren't signs of defeat. They were signs of transition. When you step into a new spiritual dimension, the enemy tries to drain you before you realize how close your elevation is. But what the enemy intended to break, you only revealed how much God has already built inside you. The fact that you're still standing, still believing, still seeking God even in your tiredness is proof that heaven has fortified your spirit. You didn't survive by accident. You survived because destiny refused to let you collapse. Beloved, you're now entering the kind of rest that heals the places inside you that productivity never touched. God is restoring your emotional balance. He's renewing the spiritual clarity that warfare tried to cloud. He's rewiring your mindset toward abundance instead of anxiety. He's releasing peace in places where pressure once lived. This rest is not passive. It's prophetic. It's realignment. It's preparation for something greater than anything you've experienced before. And chosen one, as we move deeper into this revelation, if your spirit feels that familiar stirring, the gentle confirmation that God is speaking directly to you, you're welcome to release a quiet super thanks as a symbolic seed into your own renewal. Not a purchase, not a performance, not an obligation, but a soft faith-filled whisper toward heaven saying, Father, I receive the rest you are pouring into my life. It is simply an act of agreement, a statement that you are ready to let God carry what your strength can no longer sustain. Stay with me now, beloved, because what comes next will reveal why rest is not a pause. Rest is a portal. Rest is the opening through which God will release everything you prayed for, everything you've waited for, everything you nearly gave up on. He's preparing to show you that His hands can do more in a moment than your hands could accomplish in a lifetime. Chosen one, hear me with the fullness of your spirit, because heaven is opening another layer that you are finally ready to receive. The rest God is calling you into is not simply recovery.